Hello, I'm Refashionista Sheri, and today I am sharing 18 upcycled home hacks and DIYs ranging from 2014 all the way to 2025. And I'm also going to share the updates on the ones that I still have and I still use. So let's start things off with some Lickety Split tips from 2014.
Starting off in 2014, where I shared my bobbin storage tip here. These are just Pedicure toe separators, and they work great for your bobbins. Oh, and look at young Sheri there with little Jack. And welcome to my currently very messy work area. But there's my lovely fancy new site that I designed. And here, ta-da, we have all of those amazing bobbin holders and my thread. And here's another tip. This is a cutlery holder, and they work fabulously for holding the little toe separator bobbin holders and all of my thread. Another very useful tip from 2014 is to simply use hard plastic placemats rolled up as boot savers. So quick, so simple, and so useful. And let's go into my closet. And the first thing we see, of course, is too many bags, too many clothes, but I am a maximalist who loves vintage. Anyway, the second thing we see are these awesome boot savers. And these are actually the exact same ones that were used in that video over a decade ago now, and they're still fantastic, and they were free, right? I had these already in my house, and I've had them now for over a decade doing the same job, different pair of boots, same placemats, and they even moved internationally from Germany to Canada. So more proof that nothing has to cost a lot of money. Use what you already have at home and find clever upcycles for it. Also in 2014, I needed something to store my growing collection of vintage scarves. So I simply grabbed a wooden hanger and a bunch of wooden clothespins, stuck them together, and once the glue was dry, gave it a bit of painting and decorating, and a perfect scarf holder was born. Here in this corner is that original very first scarf hanger I made, and this actually moved all the way from Germany over to Canada with us. So definitely built to last, and it does its job perfectly. But of course, I had to make another one, so I have one there and I have one there because I have such an extensive collection of scarves, and this one has like belts and neckties on it. It just works so well for so many things, and pretty much everybody can get a hold of wooden hangers and clothespins. Even if you don't have them in your house, you can get them at dollar stores, thrift stores, just about anywhere, and they are fabulous. And here's a space-saving storage tip from 2014. Simply use towel bars to hang up your shoes with heels. In 2015, I created a playhouse using a vintage bed frame, 2 pallets, a chopped-up desk, a few unused shelves, and MDF boards. The pallets were attached together in an L shape, and the sturdy wooden shelves were secured to the top of the lower pallet to create the playhouse floor, and the MDF board was nailed to the upper pallet for the interior back wall. The vintage bed frame had a 2-piece headboard that made absolutely perfect side walls, just as they were, no measuring or cutting required, which was fantastic. The solid wooden bed rails were cut to size and then added to the side as roof supports, and the roof was created from 3 old wardrobe doors stacked and cut to size. The roof was then attached, and one of the footboards from the bed frame was added to the front. We used chalkboard paint for the back wall and added some small shelves too. Then gave it all a coat of all-weather blue paint to fancy it up and some furnishings, and it was all ready for action. In 2015, I also transformed an old squeaky dresser and a few random pieces of wood into an awesome sandbox. First, I removed the drawers and took them apart, then nailed on a few extra MDF boards to cover the open back of the dresser, and attached the side piece of an old desk to the bottom of the dresser to close it up and provide a backrest. Then I used the back and sides from one of the drawers to create a mini bench inside of the sandbox. The drawer fronts were attached together to form a perfectly fitting lid for the sandbox. Everything got 2 coats of some of that weatherproof paint. Then I attached a couple of old drawer pulls to the lid and found the perfect corner to set it all up in. I added some of the many old vintage bricks that we discovered buried in the yard during our landscaping attempts and added a border detail plus a mini paddling pool for splishy, splashy, sandy feet rinsing fun.
Hey, today I'm going to show you just how simple it was to create this groove-tastic personalized bed canopy for my kiddo from an old refrigerator box, bits from the recycling bin, and a bit of imagination. First, I grabbed a big appliance box plus the sturdy cardboard that had come with the appliance in the box. Next, I measured the bed, chopped the box to the right size, and then proceeded to kind of make my design and tape the box and all the pieces of cardboard around the bed using the actual bed itself as the basic shape templates for the width of the bottom. And the rest just kind of fell into place as I was making it. I grabbed a balloon to use that for a funky little secret shelf. I cut out windows and yeah, just taped it all together. Once the basic shape of my bed canopy was all sorted out, I went ahead and made a whole bunch of paper mache, and that's just pretty much equal parts warm water and flour mixed together. And then I raided my recycle bin and got a whole whack of flyers and newspapers and cut them all up into strips. The really time-consuming and not fun at all task came next, and over the course of about 2.5 days, I coated the basic canopy structure with about 5 layers of paper mache, and then waited 4 days for it to dry. Once all of my layers of paper mache were completely dry and super duper hard and sturdy, I went ahead and gave the whole thing a couple of coats of brilliant white paint. Once all the paint was dry, it was time to finally get to the fun part of decorating. So I hit up my stash and found a bunch of fake flowers and leaves and decided, hey, why not stick all of these on top of the house, and it gives it a really nice springtime look. These fantastic little bead banners are just Mardi Gras beads that I actually stole from my kiddo's collection and then just stuck them on with a bunch of pom-poms, and it gives a really adorable little detail. And here, the first groovy window covering is, of course, some of the fantastic personalized fabric that I designed and then had printed with Contorado fabric. And yeah, so that's my kiddo as Troll Poppy. And that's covering this fantastic little window. And we'll be heading inside the canopy momentarily. And here along the bottom, this is a bit of a work in progress. Some of the Munchkins art that still we need to add a few more, I think. All right, it's a little tiny bit cramped in here, so I'll try my best. And it's a little bit dark, so I think maybe we might want to turn on the light. Ta-da! How lovely is that? And over here we have the window, and hanging from the window is all of her kind of nighttime flashlight, her little mini computer, of course, from the thrift store. And moving over to the other side, we have another fantastic little pocket that is, again, just hanging from this little slit that I had added.
And what, though, is under the pocket? It is a secret shelf! How cool is that? And that is what was created with that little balloon that was stuck to the side of the box when I was making it. In 2017, we used the pallets from our international move to create a removable fence for our rental house that did not have one. The pallets were sanded, painted with all-weather stain, and arranged in position, then securely attached together. Plus, the end pallets were secured to the house on one side and the fence on the other side with L-brackets. A piece of scrap wood was easily transformed into a gate. So first, we cut the scrap wood to the perfect gate size and gave it some wavy, funky detail too. Some cool holes were drilled into the gate to allow the strong Toronto wind to pass through and not knock over our fence. Once the gate was cut to size, it was stained and attached. And then the groovy fence was decorated and ready for action. And years later, we are still using one of those pallets and the same gate for the property we're renting now that doesn't have a fence or gate. After surviving so many Canadian winters, the gate definitely is getting repainted this summer. In 2018, I scored a vintage suitcase at a garage sale for pennies. It was stained, rusty, and the interior lining was more than a bit moldy and smelly, but it was perfect for upcycling. I also had a broken chair that I had recently found by the side of the road, and I knew I could put these two together to make a table. Look at this manufacturing date. I love it when you can literally see the year your furniture was made. It is fantastic. Anyway, so first I removed the interior of the suitcase and gave it a good cleaning. Then I removed all of the excess wood from the chair so it could be used as a base for the table. I taped off the leather handle of the suitcase and gave the chair base and the suitcase a few coats of pretty turquoise spray paint. While the paint was drying, I grabbed some coordinating vintage fabric, cardboard, scissors, and my glue gun. And using the interior pieces as a template, I chopped up the cardboard and covered it with the vintage fabric. Then I covered the interior edge of the chair base with a strip of the same fabric. Once the paint was completely dry, I attached the suitcase to the chair base with more than a few sturdy screws. Then I secured the fancy new interior pieces with all-purpose glue and waited for my lovely table to dry. Are you drowning in accessories like me? Then let's go ahead and upcycle ourselves a fantastic new jewelry holder.
For this quick and easy space-saving DIY storage solution, all you need is an old wooden hanger, a mini drill or something else to make holes in the wood, a bead that fits over the end of the hanger, and 2 drawer pulls. Now, as I had salvaged my drawer pulls from a vintage dresser, they originally looked like that. But with some nail polish and a bit of a Refashionista imagination, they now look like this. So your first step is to simply flip that old hanger upside down. Then go ahead and decide where you would like your drawer pulls to be. These will become your necklace hangers. Once you have the drawer pulls positioned, go ahead and put a little mark. Then grab your handy drill or other tool you'll be using to make the holes and drill on through. I always put a piece of scrap wood under the items that I'm going to be drilling just so I don't ruin my table surface. I also went ahead and did a hole on each end to make it easier to nail it up on the wall. And pop the screws through those holes and attach your lovely drawer pulls. Once you have your fancy little drawer pull necklace holders attached to the hanger, go ahead and flip up the metal hook, grab that little bead, pop it on the end, and you're ready to go nail it up to the wall. And here are my awesome accessory holders, still absolutely fabulous, still doing their job in the present day. And they're just so quick and easy to make. Even if you don't have a crazy, wild, extensive accessory collection like me, they're still wonderful to make for just about anything. For this delightful DIY decor project, you'll need
a cup and saucer. This is a great way to upcycle those chipped cups and saucers that you may have lying around. Some little plastic toys, wooden toothpicks, wooden chopsticks, or alternatively, you can use popsicle sticks, your glue gun or all-purpose glue, and something to fill your cup with, such as dollar store bathroom beads or craft moss. So your first step is to simply glue your cup to the saucer. Now, because this does have a chip in it, I am going to be gluing the chipped edge facing the back of my saucer. Next, we need to create our ladder so our adorable fairies and little gnomes can climb up our teacup. So to do that, we're just going to grab our chopsticks or the popsicle sticks, decide what kind of angle we're going to stick the ladder at, and then mark where it needs to be cut. Now we have to chop our chopsticks to size. Now, I just simply like to score through the wood with an X-Acto knife, and then usually they break off pretty cleanly. You can simply put your thumbs on either side of your scoring marks and give it a good snap, but I like to use my pliers just because it gives it a much cleaner looking break. Next, you want to grab 4 or 5 toothpicks and chop off the pokey ends if they have them. So now that we have all of our ladder pieces, we can glue them together. Now that the ladder is done, we can grab our cup and saucer again and start putting it all together. So first, we are going to fill our cup about 3/4 of the way just with some random filler. You can use a bit of the craft moss if you want. You can use balled up paper. Whatever you have on hand will work. The only thing you have to make sure to do is squirt some glue into your cup and on the sides, just as a bit of security to hold it in place. Now, because I've already decided that I am making a little garden in my teacup, I know I am going to be using this lovely green craft moss. However, if you want to do more of a water scene, then go ahead and grab those dollar store glass beads and place a bunch of those over top of your cup filler and create the illusion of a lovely seaside. So now, just like I did with my cup filler, I am going to put a whole bunch of glue first all around and then place my craft moss in place. Next, we're going to position our ladder and stick it in place.
Editing Sheri here. Does anybody else have a really squeaky glue gun?
Now, if you want, you can put a little bit of the craft moss just sticking in those little bloops of glue on the bottom of the ladder just to kind of cover it up a little bit. That looks so adorable. Now, this whole project is so much fun to make, but we are coming up on now the most enjoyable part. And this is when you get to arrange all of your little toys, all of your little furnishings for your tiny little fairy teacup garden. And I mean, if you have a kiddo like mine who kind of has a large collection of these, then it is very, very easy to find lots of little chairs and perhaps even a little sofa, a little kitty cat here. And again, even if you don't have a kiddo or you're not around any kids, these can easily be picked up, like bags of them, at thrift stores or even at your local dollar and discount stores. Alrighty, I think I have decided on my little toy setup here, and I already went ahead and glued some of the craft moss to the bottom of my little faux tree here. And I also stuck a little tiny scrap of fabric to my tiny table as a tablecloth before I stuck on the cute little cupcakes. So now the only thing I need to do is glue everything into place.
And here are my fairy gardens. There is one there, and there is another one there, and they are looking just as adorable as the day that I made them. And of course, they're there amongst my lovely plants to invite the fairies to come have a tea party.
For this super simple project, all you need is an embroidery hoop, enough scrap fabric to wrap around the embroidery hoop, scissors, and your glue gun, plus some paint if you want to paint the outside of your embroidery hoop. So your first step is to simply take apart your embroidery hoop. Now, because I got this one at the thrift store, it kind of has some marker here on it for some reason. So this is why I am going to paint the outside of the outer embroidery hoop. The inside one is actually going to be covered with fabric, so I don't have to paint this one. So while you wait for your paint to dry, you can now work on the interior of the project. So you want to grab that scrap fabric and lay it on a flat surface with the right side facing down. Then grab the interior part of the embroidery hoop, center it on the fabric, and simply stick it all the way around. Now I like to start just on one side and just first loosely, just do a loose stick on that first edge there. And then I'm gonna flip it around here and pretty much at the same corner and pull that a little bit tighter around there, because we want our fabric to be quite snug around the embroidery hoop. And then flip it again and repeat the process with the other two corners. And this one, pull it as tight as you can, but still being gentle. And stick it in place. So now clearly we have a lot of excess fabric going on here. So now you just want to open up the areas that aren't stuck and of course glue them to the embroidery hoop. Now as you're gluing, you want to be going around and pulling with the circle of the embroidery hoop. Once you have it all stuck down, check that the front is nice and smooth. If not, you need to figure out where you need to kind of glue it and pull it a little bit more to make sure it's nice and smooth, kind of like a drum. Then you can flip it over and just pull that excess fabric gently and see if you missed any areas. And if you find somewhere, whoops, like there, just put a little dot of glue and pull it tight and stick it in place. I'm going to grab my scissors and chop off this excess fabric. I do want to leave enough fabric though, so I can stick this to the interior of the embroidery hoop. I have my excess fabric trimmed. Now I am simply going to stick this to the interior of the embroidery hoop. Once your paint is all dry, you can go ahead and pop your embroidery hoop back together. Now, even though this is some pretty gorgeous art just as it is, I have an awesome use for it. So let's go see what it is. Now, I created mine to use as earring and pin storage, but you can, use it just as some funky art or store whatever you can pretty much poke through the fabric. And my lovely upcycled embroidery hoop earring and pin holder is also, of course, still absolutely fantastic. And it lives
right above my upcycled ladder bookshelf, which is also under my absolutely adorable little spice rack knickknack shelf. And of course, here's the rest of that ladder, which I made into a wonderful wardrobe because I didn't have enough closet space. And I shall link down below for all of my upcycled ladder tutorials. So that's kind of the idea, to have it like that. And yeah, it's gonna work, I think. It doesn't look, you can see, it doesn't look very nice right now though. So let's go fancy it up a little bit, shall we?
So this ladder has definitely seen many, many, many years of different kinds of weather sitting outside. So yeah, it for sure could use a lovely stain treatment with this gorgeous oxblood color. And yeah, I've never used this kind of stain before, but let's give it a try and see what happens. So because this is so super thick, I'm going to be using a foam brush just to, let's see here. Oh, wow. Wow. That goes on so smooth and so beautiful. Oh my goodness. This, you know, it's doing what it says on the tin here. It is definitely anti-drip. Wow, that is gorgeous. That looks so beautiful. Oh my goodness. All right, I am going to continue here, and wowza, I'm super impressed with this no drip stain. This is so exciting. You know you are a grown-up when you get excited about no drip stain. Or not necessarily a grown-up, I guess. You know you are a DIYer. How absolutely gorgeous did that color come out? Seriously, this is not even the same piece of ladder anymore. Like, I even did these metal bits here, and it's not gonna come off of those. It is so gorgeous. I love this color, and I totally recommend using the dripless stain if you can find it in your local Home Depot type of store. So there were a few thoughts I had about how to actually attach this heavy thing to the wall, because not only is the ladder heavy, but of course the pots and pans that will be hung on it are also going to be heavy. And so at my local hardware store, I grabbed a few of these kind of plumber pipe holder things and thought, hey, that should hold them very securely on the wall. But you know what? That's like ugly. That's really, really ugly. So of course my Refashionista brain kicked into gear, and I remembered I had this very sturdy leather belt that sadly, you know, I had it for so many years that the buckle like fell off. And yeah, it doesn't fit me anymore. You know, this is literally something I've had since I was in my 20s. So it's you know, well over 20 years old. But the belt part is fully sturdy leather and still in great condition, and it has this kind of very cool rose and leaf lattice stamp on it. So I figured leather is sturdy, so why not, you know, cut it to size and you know, screw that into the wall and use that to hold the ladder onto the wall. And I'm pretty sure I can definitely cut enough pieces out of this belt to make it work. So let's give that a try, and fingers crossed that it will be successful. So I have chopped my belt into 4 equal pieces. And here, I can give you a sneak peek actually of an upcoming kitchen fix tutorial. Look at this counter. Like, it is so damaged. It is so yuck. and it's like, ugh, everywhere it's like this. So yeah, I shall be using a very quirky item to get rid of this stuff. And the first one is a success. So now we gotta go do the rest. Et voila! All of the fabulous leather belt holder thingamajiggies are in place, and it is like super sturdy. This is not going to go anywhere, which is absolutely awesome. And now it's time to get the cool new pots and pans up on their new home. Here's a quick tip. These S-hooks, like these exact S-hooks, were at our local home improvement store for around $8 for one. And this is how we're going to be hanging up our pots and pans. Now, I went to my local dollar store and I found these in a pack of 4 for $1.25. So definitely, before you go spending a lot of money at home improvement stores, check your local dollar store. Maybe they have something similar that you can use for, you know, less than 10% of the price. And seriously, again, this came out so much better than I had imagined. I don't even know. I think my brain is pretty awesome. And here it is today in 2025, looking just as awesome as it did when I first made it. And I haven't had to do anything. It has absolutely withstood the test of time here. Nothing has ever fallen off. The wonderful belts are very sturdy still, and it's just fantastic. And you know what it is? You don't know what it is. It just looks like a pile of wood. But if I take off the tape that's holding it together, and if I oh, now do you know what it is? Still no? Still no? This is, and I always forget the name in English, this is a Lattenrost in German, and I don't know the English right now. It's the thing that goes on your bed, and then you put the mattress on top of it. And I'll figure out what it is soon enough. Anyway, so this this was for my kiddo's little bed before she got her bigger bed, and I just held on to it, and I'm so glad I did, because I'm gonna transform this Lattenrost into a really fantastic kind of pseudo butcher's block countertop to cover up the mess that is there right now. So you know what? Let's get started. So apparently this is a slatted, no, wrong again, a bed slat? Was that right? I have to look it up again, sorry. Anyway, and as you can see, it is like so lucky that this is the absolute perfect size for fitting in between the sink and in between the kind of end of my countertop here beside the stove. It is just, it's perfect. So I am going to kind of remove this first, of course, and then get it the right length and put it all together and then stain it. But I mean, that's pretty much how my brain works when I'm doing this kind of stuff. I just try to see the potential in something that I find, and luckily with this one it fits perfectly. It doesn't need a lot of work just to remove this and put it together and give it a nice stain with food safe stain. So let's get to it. How perfect does that look? I am so happy that this does not need to be cut at all. It comes pretty much right to the edge of the counter. There's just like the round bit here, and it goes all the way to the back tiles. That is like so lucky, so amazing Refashionista luck right there. But with these other ones, I have these ones left, and they are going to be what is going to hold, you know, the whole thing together. These ones do need a bit of a trim because they are overhanging a little bit, so let's go do that. So now everything is cut and in position, so let's get screwing it all together. La la! And it is all together now and super duper sturdy. And can I lift it? Can I lift it? Ooh, very heavy, but it is not going to come apart. And yeah, we did this, you know, the barn door Z, or I guess the zigzag Z. So yeah, now let's go stain it. So I am once again using the awesome Varathane gel stain, this time in a Cabernet, which is lovely. And yeah, I just, you know, love this stuff so much. If I can get my brush in there. Because it's a gel, so it goes on and it doesn't drip, and it's just, I mean, look at that. Wow, that is just gorgeous, so gorgeous. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue staining this wonderful countertop cover-up thingy that I made. That is absolutely gorgeous, and once again a result that is so much better than I ever could have imagined. I am just so amazed at how gorgeous this came out. I mean, it was bed slats, and now look, it is a beautiful new countertop. And if I do have to end up moving again, it can, of course, come with me, and I can lift it up clean under it. It is totally washable, wipeable. And as you can see, this one is also still going strong, still looking awesome. Although I do have to give it a quick sand and stain this summer, I think, because this gets cleaned multiple times a day. And you can see some of the stain has been wiped off throughout the years here, but that's a really easy fix. Just a simple sand it, stain it again, and I think I still have some stain left in this color, so that will be awesome. But yeah, it's easy to lift up. I just take everything off, take this off, clean underneath it, and it's perfect. For this simple upcycled storage project, all you need is your bamboo placemat, a couple of blocks of wood that are the same size, and your trusty glue gun. So my blocks of wood are the leftover pieces from my upcycled bed slat countertop cover. And yeah, these are the only two pieces that I have left from creating that from my bed slats. And so why not upcycle them into something else that's just as awesome? So they're very plain though, so I think I'm gonna bust out my no drip stain again and, you know, give them a nice wood stain so to pretty them up a little bit. Now before, when I've used this stain, I've always used a sponge brush, but today I'm gonna do something a little bit different. And that's why I'm wearing my gloves so my hands don't get stained. And I just have a scrap of jersey fabric here. So I'm gonna dip it in, and again, as I always say, I love this stain so much because it is a gel and it doesn't drip. And if you've ever used wood stain, you know it is super, super drippy. So this is awesome. And yeah, I'm just gonna kind of rub that right into the wood like so. And hopefully it's not going to take so long to dry. And this also, I don't know if you can see that, really brings up the wood grain because I'm kind of forcing the stain right into the grain. Ooh, that rhymes. And yeah, so I'm just going to continue and see you when it's done. That looks fantastic. And yeah, just going to let it get totally dry and come back, and then we can put everything together with this super quick and awesome project. Alrighty, my little wood blocks are pretty much dry. Not totally dry, but whatever. It's dry enough. And yeah, there's definitely a good side and a bad side here because this was the side that had the staples in it. when it was bed slats originally. So I have my placemat with the right side facing down, and with this one there's a definite right and wrong side you can see here. And I'm going to take my pieces of wood and make sure that the good side is going to be facing outward. And then I'm just going to kind of put it on the edge here of the placemat and simply fold this part up like that and try to hold everything together. Ouch, and burn my hand on the glue gun. Okay, it's starting to kind of look like a little basket. Now I gotta grab the other side and pull it over to make sure that, yes, look at that, that's just about perfect. Now you may have to kind of do this, try to get straight here, may have to do this a few times to arrange your wood blocks exactly where they need to be. So before we get started gluing, I thought it might be a good idea to share the kind of measurements of all of my materials here with you. So my placemat is 44 by 30 centimeters, and my wood blocks are 9 by 6.5 centimeters, and I'm going to position them about 11 centimeters up from the front of my placemat. Now luckily I actually have, you know, the bamboo lines here that I can use as a guide because I'm not a measuring person, as you know. So my glue gun, which is very burny, is ready now. And basically all I'm going to do is first pop some lovely glue on the bottom. And then just stick it in place, and then repeat with the other one, again making sure that my kind of not so nice looking side is facing inward, and make sure I get it in the right spot. Does that happen to you where, you know, you're so concentrated on something that you end up totally gluing things the wrong way? It happens to me way too often. Okay, now we're gonna do the front part here, and I really am just gonna kind of saturate. You know what? And I gotta go grab glue sticks. Put a little bit there, and a whole bunch of there, and a little bit more there. Alrighty. And now I'm gonna fold this up and stick it in place. Ta-da! And look, we have our front and side kind of walls of our little storage box basket. It's working. It's working. Okay, and now I'm gonna put the glue here on the actual placemat because of course it's not going to go the full length there. And on the other side as well. And then secure that into place. And the last bit here is just this part. And you know, we're like seriously nearly done. And I need another glue stick. And finally, I'm just going to carefully push this into place and kind of lean on it a little bit. Yeah, and you know what? That's pretty much it. If you know, you can put stuff in there now. You're pretty much done. How nice does that look on the sides? But yeah, I'm not going to be done because of course I have to add a little something here to the front. So I'm going to go check my button stash and I shall return. I'm sure I have shared this before, but it's always worth sharing. This is my little button stash here, And this adorable little box I actually got at a garage sale for, I think it was about 10 cents. And it has this cute little handle. And then I store all of my buttons here in, you know, just cleaned out. I believe these are olive jars. And they're all color coordinated. And yeah, it's just a neat, tidy little way to store my buttons. So I've just got some embroidery thread and an embroidery needle, and I have marked out where I want it pretty much centered. And yeah, I'm just gonna basically knot it on, do a couple stitches through, and then tie it on. Because again, this is, you know, kind of sewing through bamboo, so so we're not gonna do any proper stitching here. And now I have a nice little handle, but I think I'm also going to put maybe a little loop here so I can actually close it up. So back to looking in my stash to see if I have maybe a little piece of leather or some thick yarn to see if I can sort that out. So my kind of goal here is to create a loopy that can go around this button and, you know, hold it in place. So I think I'm just going to try to maybe tie the faux suede through this bit on the bamboo here. And, yeah, just make sure I give it enough slack that I can still open it up. So I tried a bunch of different things to try to force this through this delicate bamboo here to tie it off on the inside. And nothing was going to work. It was going to actually end up breaking through the bamboo. So I just actually decided, you know what, I'm going to do the simple solution. And yeah, I just put a, you know, blob of gun glue there, and it works fine. So sometimes, you know, spending that extra half an hour searching around trying to do it the way you want to isn't really worth it. And it's okay to take the easy way out sometimes, because this works perfectly fine. It's, you know, not gonna go anywhere. Yeah, so yeah, take the easy way out sometimes. It's okay to do that.
We're going back here to the little scarf hanger and belt hanger corner to grab this wonderful little storage box I made, and I'm just going to put it on top of my updated laundry hamper, and that's where I keep a bunch of nail polishes, and it just works great. But not only that, if you want to look, can you see way up here? Look, I have 2 more sitting there, and these things just last for years, and they are so simple to make and perfect for holding just about anything. And this is actually quite heavy because it does have a bunch of nail polishes in it. And as you can see, I'm holding it with one hand. Nothing is breaking, and it's still awesome and doing its job.
I've had this upcycled storage idea floating around in my head for a while, and I finally scored the perfect vintage spoon rack at the thrift shop, popped it on my wall, and it's now a lovely holder for my necklaces. Everything is neat and tidy. Nothing is tangled. It is perfection.
And of course, this is still absolutely perfect and holding my necklaces and just being its wonderful self on my wall.
Grab a baker's cooling rack from the dollar store, plus some faux flowers and your trusty glue gun and glue sticks. Then glue the faux flowers around the side and top of the cooling rack and go hang it up to create some adorable sunglass storage. I just hung mine up with a simple hook on each end.
My sunglass holder came out so fabulously that I had to make another one, and I also needed to make another one because my sunglass collection is constantly growing, and you can see this one is pretty much identical to the way I made the other one, just the flowers are a little bit different, but they're both still awesome, still doing their job, and very, very easy to make.
Do you remember that awesome DIY hat storage that I created and then it didn't fit in the spot that I had it in anymore because I got this cool free to me vintage bedroom furniture? Well, today we are going to make it again and resize it so it fits in the only spot left on the back of my door. All you need to create your amazing DIY upcycled hat storage are some pieces of rope, clothespins, and a length of a hollow copper pipe, or any kind of hollow pipe. So I have my copper pipe and I have a marker. I'm not really into, measuring with a tape measure if I don't have to. We just want this to be a quick and easy upcycle, I guess. So I'm going to open my door and take my copper pipe and just, line it up to where I think the length should be and just put a mark there. There we go. And now I know where to cut it. So super simple. So I have my marked pipe. I have my lovely skelly. And now I'm going to go into the lovely tool closet that we just kind of made here beside our furnace and grab this wonderful metal cutting saw. So I put down this cool non-slip mat that I recently got at the thrift store, and it's just pretty, and it definitely makes things not kind of slide around. I have a trash can under here for any of the copper bits that might fall, and now we're just going to cut this to size. So I now have it cut to the length I want here, but you can see that it's not the smoothest cut there. I don't really care though, because I'm just grabbing a scrap of sandpaper and I'm just going to sand it. And it's definitely going to smooth that out. There we go. Doesn't take very long. And you see, it's nice and smooth. It's not cutting my finger at all. So I'm just going to sand it a little bit more to make it a little bit more even, and then we can move on to the next step. We're literally almost done now. We simply have to create our pipe hanger here, and to do that we need a piece of the rope that is about twice as long as the length of the pipe. And you can see here, to make my life easier, I taped one end of the rope to a chopstick, and now I am simply going to put the chopstick through the end here, and in theory it should pop out the other end eventually, right? So let's see. Ta-da! There it is. And I've just easily fed my rope through both ends. Now that I have my rope through the pipe, I'm just going to even up the two ends here and knot them together. And that's going to be how it hangs up. Very, very easy, very, very quick. And you can adjust it to whatever you want. But like that's it. Of course, I'm going to trim this off so it looks nice. Now we can add the rest of the rope pieces here, which I have already cut to varying lengths, and I've knotted one end in a loop and just knotted off the other end so it doesn't all come unfrayed and apart. And now I'm just gonna put that around the pipe and put the end through the loop, and la, I have one of my hangers all ready to go. So you're going to put the rest of your pieces of rope on. Like I said, I like to do staggered varying lengths just because none of my hats are exactly the same size. And then you clip your clothespins to the ropes, and this is what's going to hold the hats on. As you can see, I just hung it up on a little hook on the back of the door here. La la! And there is my amazing hat hanger. And now I gotta go put all the hats on. So you can see here my hats are slowly but surely getting organized. I just have to be careful because they're all different sizes and shapes, and I still need the door to open. Plus I have all of this storage behind the door as well. If anyone is thinking to themselves, no, you're wrecking your hats by clipping them with clothespins. No, I'm not, because all of my hats have tags or an interior hat band. So that is what I use to clip them. And so nothing ever gets ruined. I've also had this kind of a system for a very long time, many years, in fact. Editing Sheri here. Those that have been with me for a while will absolutely recognize that copper pipe as the exact same one I used in 2016 when I made my DIY copper pipe clothing rack, and then I used the same copper pipe in 2018 to create the first DIY hat storage, and now here we are present day using it to once again make hat storage of a different size because I got new bedroom furniture.
And my hats are still going strong. If your hat does not have this tag or like this interior hat band on it, you can really, really easily just put a very quick little loop stitch on the interior of the hat. It's hidden when you wear it, but it gives you something to grab onto if you're concerned about this kind of pinching your hat, especially if the hat is felt. It will get marks on this with this. So just stitch a little tiny loop, easy peasy. How absolutely perfect is that, and so simple to do. And I have all of my hats in one place now, and I can still open the door and it stays open. So perfect. You don't get any more perfect than that. I actually shared a video that was all about my groovy thrifted vintage hat collection, so I shall link that down below for you. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I'll catch ya on the zigzag.
This is Confessions of a Refashionista.